Without truth, there can be no justice.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Speak out. Ask those questions. Demand that truth.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of Truth is Justice. We have something a little different for you today. If I was given only a minute or so to describe to someone, like say an elevator pitch for example, about what Truth is Justice is, I'd say that it was created to give the facts a voice and to distribute them in a manner that would allow people to discuss those facts and consume them in a forum that was open and free of threats or harassment and, importantly, free from influence. I definitely think we've achieved that. So after 15 episodes, we now have a relatively large group of people who enjoy the environment we have created, and I think we've made a significant difference in relaying to everyone the actual facts. We've provided a forum through our Facebook page and the connections that have been made between people to allow people to openly discuss their views of the case. And really, what we are is just a group of people getting together and talking about and sharing their views on a range of topics, many connected with this case and some that aren't. We call out errors when they are made, and there have been so many of those. And we're only up to, about week 7 of Bob's show. And these are not areas of grey. We're talking about black and white matters. Like, is the knife 8 or 9 inches? No, it's 6 inches, exactly as Ms. Barnett said. Were Sandra's nails perfectly manicured? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. Did Sandra have to turn around 180 degrees to see the master bedroom and closet and study? No, she just had to turn her head. And there are so many examples. Regardless of what you think of us, that is valuable. And again, if you don't mind whether what you are listening to is actually the truth, if you think truth gets in the way of a good story, then probably don't listen to us. Because in many ways, we probably spoil shows like Bob's that rely specifically on no one fact-checking what they say. Now, reflecting that, what we're going to do today is share with you a discussion group chat we had with members of our page. It's free-flowing, it's uncensored, it's politically incorrect at times, and it'll probably cause some people to get upset. But it is a group of people talking and sharing their views on the case, exactly what many people feel is so valuable with what we have done. There are no wild speculations, no acceptance of 173 different coincidences that all had to happen at the same time. It's people talking about what is real, what is known, and what they feel is the most reasonable explanation. Now, it's a long talk, so it'll be split over 2 weeks. So, rather than keeping on going on, here it is. Welcome to the first part of the Truth is Justice discussion group chat. I hope you enjoy it. Hi everyone, and thank you very much for being a part of this first group discussion chat. I thought it would be good to start with some sort of introductions, maybe a brief explanation of what made you interested in the Melgar case, and maybe some thoughts on what you think are interesting elements of the case. So maybe Ivan, how about we start with you?
Okay, basically I want to start off with saying that this case, considering all the things, is actually boring compared to other cases we know of. I mean, it's not that exciting. It's pretty straightforward, at least from my perspective. And what drew me in is how people, actually the psychological aspect of people following a certain narrative and bending reality to the point of where it's no longer even plausible to be all the things they're claiming to be. So, and I'm kind of I follow Bob Ruff's podcast just out of interest to see what's next in the kitchen of things that definitely never happened or never could happen. It's like a bad novel or something. So basically that's what got me interested in this case and starting the whole group and everything. And I'm argumentative. I like to argue, so that's why I'm here. I'm here to argue. That's the short version of why I'm here.
Okay. Well, my nickname is Addie, as most of you know. I got sucked into this by the West Memphis 3 case. When Bob Ruff started his podcast, I joined and I joined another group, a small group full of wonderful people. And once the West Memphis 3 case ended and the Melgar case started, it's basically the same with like Ivan. I mean, you couldn't believe all the things that Bob was leaving out and the narrative he was pushing since the beginning. So after most of us got booted out, I got involved in Sam's project, and that's basically how I started this. And I'm really happy with it, and that's it. I think I will pass it to Trisha.
Okay, so I've actually been listening to Bob since the beginning, and I really was enjoying his podcast until this season. And then I found this case in particular to just not make sense as a wrongful conviction case. And there were things that I didn't like about how it was being covered, and I didn't like that we were getting all the documents. And then once it was put forth that the bindings were done with a handcuff knot, and it was explained how one of her hands would have had to have been shoved up through the bindings, I was just like, that's too much. I can't believe that. It doesn't make any sense. And then I started digging into it on my own, and I realized that there was a lot more that didn't make sense. And then Sam started his podcast and his group, and I am convinced that she's not wrongfully convicted. So, Gina?
Thanks, Trisha. Actually, pretty much the same thing as Trisha. I've been listening since the beginning, and I kind of followed him blindly throughout the whole 6 seasons, and then pretty much from the beginning of this season, I was kind of skeptical about a few things, and then once I listened to and watched her police interview, that kind of was what kind of pushed me back a little bit, and then I started questioning things and found a group of people similar to what I think, and now we're here. So I guess I'll put it to Danielle.
Hi, this is Danielle. Also, like Trisha and Gina, I have been a Bob listener since Serial days with the Adnan case, and I believed everything that Bob said up until the Sandra Melgar case. At which point, when he introduced that he was going to be doing this season, I was curious because it was the first time he'd be taking on a female, and he seemed so convinced of her innocence up front. I mean, before his first episode dropped, I think there was a hashtag Free Sandy that he had put on the Truth and Justice fans page. And I thought, okay, I'll ride his ride and see where it goes. I'm looking forward to figuring out who actually did this, if Sandra is in jail when she shouldn't be. And the first episode was a little bit interesting. It grabbed me, but I was waiting for the meat and potatoes. Okay, so there's a woman in a closet. Her husband is dead in another closet. Somebody obviously came into their house and killed him and bound her and even put a chair in front of the closet door, which I thought was really odd. And then we learned more about it, the case. And I remember the first time I started to think Sandra was actually guilty was when I heard that the murder weapon was a knife from their home in their bathtub. And I thought, what kind of intruder comes into a home and takes an item from the home to kill the homeowners and then leaves it there? It just didn't make sense to me. And that was the first big hurdle I couldn't cross. And from there, my questions weren't being answered. So I was happy to find a group that was interested in looking at the possibility that Sandra was actually guilty. So now I'll pass it on to Tim.
I, like the rest of you, I have no unique story about how I became involved in listening to it, except for the fact that I was a Bob fan, of course. And whenever he pulled the coup de grace, so to speak, on the DA, kind of threw me off a little bit, because I'm like, what are you doing here? You bring her on under the ruse that she's going to, tell her side of it, and then you're just going to completely destroy her. I don't like that. So that's whenever I got a little skeptical, and I don't remember which episode that was. Maybe in the first one. I don't know, but then just the sound effects and everything kind of annoyed me. Like that music just, and I know it's stupid, but the music was really annoying.
I can second that.
I was like, am I salsa dancing or listening to hard rock or what? It's just, and then it gets loud. I don't know. It just annoyed me. But and then so I decided I was no longer going to drink the Milgaritas that he was serving up with this fake narrative. And the intruder theory has always gotten me too, because they make up an intruder and there's no evidence and people believe it. Okay, that's strange. So yeah, I was talking shit about Darlie Routier in another group, and somebody mentioned this podcast, so I came over and checked it out, and I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to discuss my stupid ideas. Not, they're funny ideas, whatever, but it's good to be able to discuss it with people that can actually make sense of it, instead of telling me that I'm an idiot who needs to believe that, Santa Claus is the one. I don't know, my whole Santa Claus thing. But so that's why I'm here, because it's nice to be able to talk to people that can understand where I'm coming from on it, because, I don't know.
We got you, Tim.
Come on, she's using a cane now, like she never used one before, and then she's going to get a beach house that has like 5,000 stairs, and people don't see that. Where's the breakdown here? But, so yeah, that's why I'm here, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of this, and
yes, thank you.
Spitballing ideas back and forth, so it's going to be nice. Oh,
it's Nicole.
Nicole.
It's Nicole.
Yeah.
Okay. I have been listening to him since the West Memphis 3 case, which I have been following for like 20 years. And I don't know. I'm pretty much a guilter for everybody. I just do not like the constant disparaging of law enforcement and the constant corruption of the courts and everyone involved in every single part of the case. Everybody's against them. There's no possible way that happens. Not a chance. I don't know. Sometimes there's a few people that it could happen to, but for the most part, I don't buy into that shit. I don't like Bob at all. I cannot stand him. I hate him. I have never hated someone so much. I want him to fail so bad. And I think that the internet has created these idiots that have no idea and think that they know things when they do not. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyways, when this started, I went like immediately that, again, he's ridiculous. She is not sick. She's not, she could be a little bit sick. She's not as frail and sick as she looks. There's no possible way. People do everything with the things that she has. She's not on that many medications. She doesn't have regular physicians. There's no way. So my husband and I just started listening to it. And after everything that's been coming out, I also do not like that he had the family and he is not being impartial by being best friends with Liz. That is just completely, if we were on this side doing that, we would be destroyed for that.
We are, aren't we? Well, they going back to what you said about the conspiracy. I mean, they take a tiny bit with us and believe that it's corrupted everything that we say. Yet he has this connection with Liz, and that's accepted as perfectly fine. It's,
I want to say something before. Nicole, I value your medical input a lot, and I would like you to tell the people your expertise, your background, because you're not someone that's just claiming to be an expert, and I think it's important. Please.
Yeah. Okay. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years. I work in pediatrics. My experience is pediatric intensive care unit, and neonatal intensive care unit. However, I've been with my husband for 20 years. He's an ER physician. We talk every single night medicine. We nonstop shop all the time. I worked in the hospital. I still do work. I work per diem now, but I am also a certified legal nurse consultant, and I work with attorneys going over people's medical records, letting them know like what they need to focus on and showing them like what went wrong or how it didn't go wrong so they can go forward with a case or not. I help them out with depositions. I can testify as an expert, and I am licensed in 3 states, Nevada, New York, and Pennsylvania. I'm like totally fine with people going on the boards of nursing and checking out my credentials. I did check into Gerald. I found him one time in Alabama.
I'm sorry.
Are you listening, Gerald?
That's about it. I'm so glad he's gone. I'm just checking out. I'm reading everything that I missed from last night, and I'm reading all of this now, what just happened. But yeah, I can't stand him either. The basis of what he was saying, it is true. Like, you cannot definitively prove whether somebody had a seizure or not. However, they would try to take the prolactin level. They would try to test her blood for her medication therapeutic level, because if it's not at a therapeutic level, you are going to have more seizures. If you have, again, I worked for a neurologist also for 3 years before I started working as a nurse. And then, they would do EEGs also, which they connect like little electrodes to your brain, and then they do like this scan, so they can tell if you had seizure activity. You can't just definitively prove it, but if she
you can try. You can actually show that you want to try to prove that you had a seizure.
Absolutely, you can try. But the thing is, like, if she also was lost consciousness for 15 hours after being hit in the head, or even having a seizure, you cannot lose consciousness for 15 hours and not go to the ER. You just can't. There's no possible way. You can't. She would need to have a CAT scan done. She would have been admitted. She would have been considered a level 3 concussion. There's no possible way that you don't. Nobody that's been that hurt or had that trauma happen does not go to the hospital. There's just no way. And I can tell when someone's bullshitting. I have a great bullshit meter for people that are making themselves out to be sicker than they are and looking for drugs. And my husband has it. I mean, it's something that we do every single day. You just get a feeling, and you know.
I just want to draw on something you said a bit earlier about the corrupt cops and the whole conspiracy thing. Yes, right off the bat, I come from a small country with a immensely corrupt police force and judicial system. Like the whole system is broken, and even here you don't have that many cases of wrongful conviction, and we don't even have a jury of 12. We only have one judge. A judge is presiding over the case, and he is the sole like bearer of fact. He's the only one who can say, okay, this is fact, this is not fact, and it opens up big doors for corruption and for pressure on the system. And what happens in more cases is that guilty people get off scot-free, is what happens more often than people get wrongly convicted, because to have a wrongful conviction, really the stars have to align, especially in a system like the American. I don't claim to be a professional on the American law system,
Absolutely.
not even close, but honestly just the task of convincing 12 different people of what you believe is true is an immense task. I can't even convince my own girlfriend of the things I think are true, let alone 12 people, which is why I find it really hard to believe when I hear wrongful conviction cases. By searching online, reading, what you find mostly of wrongful convictions actually are rape cases, and they're usually a case of wrongful identification by the victim.
Absolutely.
They have a false memory and identify a person they saw somewhere else, and that's the most of wrongful convictions are those cases. Murder is not at the top of the list of wrongful convictions because there are many clues that are left and that are weighed, many facts that are weighed before a conviction can be passed in a murder case. And somebody facing a murder charge is not there just because a DA wished it into existence. It just doesn't happen. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So I'm not the one to have a strong bias for the police. They actually harass me on a monthly basis here, and they're really corrupt and everything, and still I do not have such a crooked view of the cops, because at the end of the day they put their lives on the line to save our lives and protect us and keep our streets safe. So that's something.
Well, also, in this particular case, they're not just saying she was wrongfully convicted. They're saying she was intentionally wrongfully convicted.
Yeah,
They're saying that
conspiracy narrative.
That's always
they're
a
saying the DA was in on it, and the cops were in on it, and at least
And
one of
we're
the
in on
jury
it.
members were in on it.
We're on
Well,
it.
I
We're
want
in on
my
it.
check
I'm
back.
in on it.
But do you realize the extent, the level that people would have to go to make sure that nobody ran their mouth, though? Like,
Right.
It expands so far that, we want to make sure so-and-so down the line doesn't run his mouth or whatever about it. It's ridiculous. It's like, what the hell are they thinking? That all these people are lumped together? And who is Sandra? Like, what makes her so damn special?
Exactly.
And that's the point. Why do they have it out for her? What do they get out of it? Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Barnett's going to be the next Nancy Grace, right? Oh, my bad. That's right. She wants to be Nancy Grace. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense why everybody would have this conspiracy against this woman.
Maybe they
Why?
work for the USDA Beef Council or something, and you're mad that, they got into an argument over not eating meat. That's coming, I'm sure.
But you're right. It went so deep. It was the grand jury members. It was. I mean, there was even the claim that it was Deputy Martinez. So she was the first responder.
She was the first one.
First one, and they said even before she got there, she would have been somehow in on this conspiracy, and that just that can't be possible because she's the first one there.
Stephanie, the EMT, Stephanie was her name, right?
Stephanie, yes.
Robert.
Yeah, but
She as well. She intentionally did not. Oh,
Jennifer Martinez was the first
First
police
cop.
officer.
The
But the emergency personnel,
Was Stephanie.
Stephanie,
Yeah,
yeah,
Stephanie
and she also intentionally did not feel Sandra's bump, which magically
Right.
appeared 3 days later.
My husband has been an EMT, paramedic, firefighter for 15 plus years, and when I was telling him about this and how she was unconscious for 15 hours on and off, okay, I should say, she woke up 2, maybe 3 times, I think she said. And when I was telling my husband this, he's like, and she refused medical treatment. I said, yes. I said, but there's, everybody keeps, and I want to clarify something. When people say they should have made her go to the hospital. They should have made her. You cannot do that. The only time you can force somebody to go is when they're suicidal. That is it. You cannot force them to go if they do not want to go. Even if they had a heart attack in front of you, you can say, I strongly suggest you go, sir, and try and convince him, but you can't force them. You cannot force them to go. That has really bothered me in this case when I see all these people writing that it was her fault that they didn't go, it was the police fault she didn't go. No, it was her fucking fault because she signed the refusal. So
because she knew they wouldn't find anything.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So that's
and the whole story about not going that night and then not going for another 3 days because of Christmas. Your husband's been brutally murdered. You've been knocked on the head. You had a seizure, and you wait for 3 days because you can't find a doctor to see you. I mean, I don't know how the American system works, but if it works like that and you can't find a doctor for 3 days, you guys are effed. You're effed.
To the ER that has sore throats in the summer, and I mean in the winter. They use the ER for a freaking paper cut. She can go to the ER.
Not to mention, I don't know what it's like in Texas, but in my area we have like minute clinics.
Yes. You can. I have a walk-in clinic, literally 30 seconds from my house, that you can go to just to say, "Hey, I have a cold. I need medicine."
And they pop up like McDonald's do, or Starbucks rather. I mean, they're everywhere. They've got like a new one every time, and this is anywhere because I go to Houston a lot. They're all over. I mean, so
before they even started any of this was the first. That was the first thing that made me think, and then from there it just goes on.
Yes, because it wasn't only the fact that she didn't want it to. When they asked her for her doctor, her specialist, it's a very serious condition, health condition she has, and I can't believe she doesn't know their name. I mean,
she doesn't know their names because she doesn't want to know their names.
She didn't want them to find the names because she didn't want them to have to look up the medical records and see that she hasn't said she's had a seizure in God knows how long. That's what it was.
Exactly.
You're not going to tell me she was in such a brain fog that she remembered what she had for dinner, but she can't remember her doctors that she's had for 10 years.
She remembered how many strawberries she had. Come on, what kind of a brain fog is that?
Well, the funny part is I was listening to the first episodes of Bob Ruff's podcast, and in the very first episode he said, that all the brain fog happened before she got the seizure, not after or during. So she shouldn't have remembered a lot of the things she does remember. I mean, she remembered hearing the dogs. She remembered how many strawberries she had. He went out for 5, 10, 15 minutes. She
remembered more things than I could have.
Exactly. So it's not brain fog.
She gives step-by-step account from Los Cucos till the tub until she blacks out. Step by step, down to the most minute details. Who got which bag, how many strawberries, how many drinks, which side of the tub you were on. It was like...
And if it was the retrograde amnesia she claims to be, she couldn't have remembered... Okay, let's not say about the Cucos. From the house, from the minute she stepped down of the car until she got hit in the head or she got the seizure, whatever... She shouldn't have remembered, and she did, very precisely.
It evolved, didn't it? So the initial story was very limited, but then my view is perhaps when she may have interpreted it not going down as well as she thought it would, then the story evolved. More details were added.
And that's how lies are formed. That's how lies are formed.
Like Gina said. Her interview had a lot of red flags, and one of the biggest for me is that she's really
uncomfortable. Annoyed.
She's really uncomfortable. She really doesn't want to say much, and people have blamed it on her being, having brain fog from the seizure, which seems ridiculous, 15 or 20 hours later. But then she's really sharp at certain points. Like the one that sticks out to me is they said, whose idea was it to have the puppies? And just like that, she snaps back the dogs.
Yeah.
That's witty.
That's witty. It's very witty. Yes.
Yeah. Almost too witty.
Yes,
I feel like she
yes,
was-
too witty for
She's
someone
being
who
a
doesn't
smart
understand.
ass.
If you're in a
She was saying
fog and you're confused and you can't remember things and you're not sure what's going on, where did that come from? That's
You're
a little
not being
too
ar-
sharp.
argumentative. She's being a smart ass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think she was just saying stuff, and like she was just throwing whatever she could out there, hoping it was gonna like all catch up to her later. Like I don't like she was trying to be an improv instead of having a conversation. She was trying to have an improvisation. I don't know, like because I mean she was just throwing anything out there that would stick. But you could tell when she would go off cue. I mean, of course she had plenty of time to rehearse the story. She made up the shit about the girl wearing the scarf in damn Texas. I mean, come on. And it was like 70 degrees. Who wears a scarf?
Hey, she wanted to be fashionable for the robbery/murder.
I guess.
Did anybody look up the weather? What was the weather that day?
It was.
Somebody
it was warm.
did.
It was warm.
Like 60
It was
degrees.
warm.
Yeah.
It's Houston, it's warm.
60 degrees or in normal temperature, it was
Yeah.
20 something Celsius. So
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
no scarf needed. No scarf needed. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well,
and
and
what?
just
Go
ahead.
on, Etty. No.
No,
I'm a
no.
gentleman. I'm a gentleman.
Oh, thank you very much. And the thing is that she's being annoyed. She's not answering, and the bad ones are the cops who are trying to get the information out of her.
Exactly.
Well-
What I wanted to say real fast. So, people are attacking the cops for basically doing a good job. They're like,
Yeah.
why are they repeating the question 5 times? Because people who lie can't keep up with their lies, and
Exactly.
they have to add things. They have to subtract things. They have to change things. And when people tell me that adding things to something you already said is not changing the story, I'm floored by that. I'm like, are you serious? It's like 15 minutes? No, it was 5 minutes. Wait, was it 15 or 5? If I was sitting in a tub, 15 minutes would be hell of a lot. 5 minutes would be hell of a lot. I would turn around and say, hey, where are you? 15 minutes? I could... I don't know. I just walked my dog for 20 minutes and he was happy. It's 20 minutes. It's not a short time, and the police actually did a good job. They kept asking the questions that needed to be asked, and they let her run her mouth. And the technique, one of the techniques they use is they just shut up. They don't say anything. They pose a question, she says something, and they just shut up. And then when somebody is lying, they feel uncomfortable. It's like, oh, why are they looking at me? And then they feel the need to say something else. And
More.
somebody who, they feel the need to say more, and somebody who was innocent, from my perspective, would say, well, why are you quiet? Are you trying to find out what? I would get angry.
And Ivan, can I just say, you brought up something that has bothered me too, was with the time, and how everybody says, oh, she doesn't have the concept of time. Okay, I'm sorry, but like you said, if you're sitting in a tub for 15 minutes, you're going to tell me you don't know 15 minutes from 5 minutes, and you're not going to ask what your husband is doing or what's going on. He just went in to let the dogs in, and he's going to be gone for 15 minutes, and you're just going to sit there and finish your drink and not think of... Maybe I watch too much crime TV or ID channel, but I'm always thinking the worst when something... I'm always like, oh, shit, I heard a noise. What was that? You know, like... So, to me, I would have thought immediately, well, where the heck is he? What is he doing? You know,
especially if you're in a
exactly,
you know,
yes.
you're naked. You're
Yes.
naked in a bathtub, waiting for your naked husband who put on your fluffy slippers and a towel, and he doesn't come back.
Exactly.
And their house isn't that big.
She doesn't even turn around over her shoulder to see if something's happening.
Listen, she is just like the rest of us. Okay, she puts on her socks one loafing foot at a time. I think she started the time thing on purpose though. Like she purposely gave that incorrect time to kind of set that up to make them think that, because she knew that there was going to be a receipt from CVS saying the real time. I think she started that shit from the get-go.
To make it look like she was confused about times in general?
Yeah, like, cause she was like, well, we got there at whatever time, and they didn't leave the restaurant till midnight. Okay, what?
Right.
I mean, so I think she set that
Thank
first
you.
lie up.
4 hours at a restaurant?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna throw this out there, which a lot of the fans don't agree with me about, but at the end of her interview, where the cop is going, "Help me, Sandy," I don't think he was mimicking Jim, which is what they keep saying.
I
He
agree with
was
you.
literally saying, "Help me, Sandy.
Help
me
me, yeah.
figure out what
Yes,
happened."
I agree. I agree with you.
I also sensed that she was ready to crack and talk. So if
Oh,
I
yeah.
were the police officer, I would have kept with that line of questioning too, because she got real quiet.
And more uncomfortable.
Yes, she got annoyed. Yes, it was like
Yes.
she got annoyed.
Like
She
she
was
wanted
so
to be
annoyed
someplace.
during
She
the
wanted to be
whole
someplace
interview.
else. I mean, she gave the impression she wanted to be someplace else, and not in the interview where they were trying to find out who killed her husband.
Well, if she wanted to be somewhere else, she should have went to the hospital then. If she didn't want to be there,
Good idea.
Good point. That's a good point.
I do wonder how she did. How did she clean all that up and not leave more of a mess?
No, it wasn't her. It was the perpetrator. She cleaned the house up. Remember that.
Well, somebody did clean it up, and it is a great question. How did they not get any footprints or shoe prints in that closet?
Yeah.
Which is a great question from whatever angle you look at it. If it was intruders
If it
or
was
Sandy,
intruder or her.
it was an interesting take. And when people say, oh, when we say, oh, there's no blood trail, they say, oh, there's no blood trail from Sandy as well. I'm like, yeah, it is a two-edged sword, but two key facts working for Sandy. One, it was her house. She knows how to move about it. She knows her house well. And two, she had a lot more time to compose herself and think of a way to do it, and not like 5, 12, 17 intruders or whatever the number is being peddled now. And it's like 4 intruders out of the blue. I'm just struggling to understand where the number 4 came from. Why 4?
Well,
why not 3?
it came
Why wasn't it
because-
3?
Well, I believe it came because there was one guy who was tying Sandy up, and she saw a woman in a red shirt, and then they figure at the same time there had to have been a man with Jamie, and then the female white shirt wound up in the tub. So they figure a woman.
So
wearing,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
Yeah.
So white
Has
shirt
anybody
woman.
seen the Cheshire Murders?
The what?
The Cheshire Murders.
I'm not
The
familiar with it. No.
It's about a home invasion in Connecticut where they killed the mother and the 2 daughters and set the house on fire.
Oh, yes! Yes!
Yeah.
And the guy's a doctor.
Yes!
That was only 2, and those people staked them out for days.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it doesn't really have much to do with them, but that's how a home invasion happens.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because I've read also that they say that this kind of cases, I mean, it just wouldn't happen, and they can. I mean, a lot of cases are the wife murdering the husband, and it happens. Most of the murders are like that, and always the first suspect is the closest person to the one murdered.
Absolutely.
Always.
Honestly, what are the odds? A white woman shirt, a burgundy, a woman in a burgundy shirt, and barely worth $100. It's
Very
like,
intriguing.
just like, why? I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. If they, why didn't they go with one of the lines that Liz offered way back on her Reddit account? She said like an uncle, an ex-tenant, or a guy down the street. Like I could believe one person. I could get behind an alternative suspect, one person getting in personal revenge towards Jim and Sandy. It's like, just when does it end? And it's always the same thing. Is this your shirt? Oh, I don't know. If you prove it's her shirt, oh yeah, well yeah, now I remember, it is my shirt. And when people ask like why wouldn't Sandy just say it's my shirt and not say, just like not commit to a certain narrative? It's easier when you're lying. It's easier to say, oh, I don't know if that's my shirt, and just see if they can prove it or not. If they can't prove it, you just stick with it. If they can prove it, you say, oh, I never lied. I never said definitely it's not mine. I said I'm not sure.
Right.
Which I find
I'm not
patently
sure.
absurd.
I don't
I'm
know,
not
but
sure.
no offense, but anybody stylish enough to wear a scarf in Texas in December is not going to be wearing a Costco blouse. No offense. Like, I mean, I wear clothes wherever I pick it up, but I also don't claim to be some kind of like fashionista either. But Is that the word for guy? Fashionista?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
I
Tim.
just, like, come on now.
Right. I mean, we can hear she has brain fog, that she has her post-ictal state where she's confused. Maybe she had a concussion. But how does that explain that she doesn't know if that's her shirt or not? And she's not sure if that's her knife or not. And
But
the
even
woman-
so,
many
Nicole,
things.
you're a nurse. So would a post-ictal
That was Danielle.
state really?
That was Danielle.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
no, it's
Danielle.
okay. It's okay. Ask Nicole about the post-ictal.
Will a post-ictal state still be a problem that many hours later? That seems like 15, 20 hours seems like a really long time.
No, they're usually tired and they sleep a lot, but they're lucid. They can talk and know what's going on. It's not a brain fog for that long. Maybe tired and sleeping. I mean, I obviously see children, but I mean, I have had children up to 18 years old, so the older ones are the same. I don't really think that it would go on for that long. I mean, I doubt it. Someone would need to be with her, and then if she has that, she can't go live by herself an hour and a half later. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, on a house with stairs. I mean, stairs by themselves are a big risk for seizures. You know, if you have a seizure on a huge stairwell, you can possibly kill yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't even, I don't know how she could possibly, she's not smart at all. I mean, if she's going with this narrative, even a year or two later, you don't go and then just buy a house like that. That's like daring them to bring you up on charges.
Plus, with those slippery feet, she'd be going down the stairs quick.
Yeah, I mean, if she had bought like a different house and it was all one story, then and by her, family and friends, then that wouldn't be as much of a big red flag.
I also
was
think
shocked.
it's telling that her neighbors and her family, none of them have ever seen her use a cane.
Yeah, Marissa said that in her interview. Marissa acted like she didn't even know her in her interview. So I don't know how now all of a sudden it's like they're so dead sure that she was tied by the arms and not the wrist, and everything that they're saying. And now, like, she was like, I didn't know if we were gonna eat. I don't really talk to her. They seem like they're good. Like, I never saw her with a cane. All of that. Like,
That can kind of go into another question that I was kind of having too about what are the reasonings that these family members are so adamant now that they did? I really feel like, I know Liz. She obviously doesn't maybe want to believe that her mother is capable of that, but also now I'm kind of to the point where I think she honestly hated her dad. I hate to say that, but I
think so too.
And but
Oh, definitely by her Reddit posts and everything. I think it's a given.
And but do you think the other family members just don't want to believe, or they can't believe that Sandy's capable of that, or?
I think they don't want to, personally.
I think it's they don't want to believe it. I don't think it's I wanted to really hammer in on I think it was Marissa or Monica's interview, I can't remember, how they acted like they didn't know her. And that has always really kind of made me question, like, how are they so sure of everything now when they didn't know her? She would say, I remember one of them said, I was really close with my uncle. I talked to my uncle all the time, but I didn't know Sandy.
Yeah, it was Marissa,
Yeah, I didn't know Sandy very well. I didn't know her. So,
and that should tell you something anyway.
And they said also that they haven't seen them since July. So that's
and that they go there 2 times a year, if that, right?
Yeah.
And they all live in Texas, in Houston, right? They're all
in that area, yes. Yeah.
Wow. And shouldn't that tell you something? If his family lives close by and they don't know her and they've been married for 32 years?
Right.
And we're supposed to take a word from people who see them twice a year that they have had a perfect marriage?
Exactly.
They obviously
Exactly.
knew she was a bitch somehow, because I mean that's probably why they didn't go over there. I mean, she just looks like one.
She does. She was miserable.
I mean, I hate to base that off of appearance, but I mean, and where was the turkey? What happened to the turkey?
What
I wanna
happened
know
to the
about that
grandma?
Yeah.
Forget the
Nobody
turkey.
ever
Where was
said
grandma?
anything.
Nobody ever said anything about grandma ever.
She asked Grandma if she made the turkey.
Be careful, she's going to be the next intruder.
Honestly, I'll give that to the innocence crowd. Not talking to the grandma, police not talking to the grandma, it just blows my mind, because if she says like grandma was supposed to bring turkey, if I was the police officer, I would sit in my car and go to grandma's house and ask her,
Right.
where you bringing the turkey? Where's the turkey,
Right.
lady? Show me the
I
turkey.
do agree with that. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
I always wondered because nobody really ever brings her up or says anything like they spoke to her that night and she said this or whatever. You know what I? Nope. Does anybody even call her?
Right.
I don't know.
I believe they said Jim called Herman before going out to Los Cucos, and that was it.
Well, if they only saw these people twice a year or whatever, isn't it kind of suspicious that Sandy would all of a sudden remember this mysterious friend of one of them?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
And that whole story is so ridiculous. People saying like, "Oh, she remembered it vaguely in a dream," and then saying, "Oh, how's your friend?" And that speaks to the truthfulness. No, it speaks exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. If I'm trying to peddle a lie, I want somebody, a third party, to discover something that I did. If I so I'm gonna plant something. I'm gonna plant it, and I'm gonna tell my brother, "Oh, did you look behind your dresser? You know, like." Have you tried in the drawers or something? You know, I'm gonna I'm gonna push him into discovering something I want him to discover. So asking like, "Oh, was your friend all right?" There was no friend. Oh, there was no friend. Gasp. Oh, it had to be somebody else. And just
And
like.
then,
Sorry, just
go
like
ahead,
a quick,
sorry.
quick word on this. There was a lot of talk with Kelly on Bob's show with like memories and everything. She was saying like post-traumatic stress disorder, and she was saying, I'm not saying Sandy has it, but these are the symptoms, and this would happen, which aligns with Sandy, and this and that. I don't want to get into it too much. The only thing I want to say, sensory memory was not what they were saying. Sensory memory is not you remembering somebody touching you with a hand or a perfume smell or whatever. Everybody knows that you remember some sensations better than others, like smell. Once you smell a perfume, 20 years later you smell it, it's going to teleport you back 20 years in the past. But sensory memory is something completely different. It's literally the memory of your senses, which is available to you for like half a second after you saw or heard something. I don't want to get too much into it, but just the fact that people are using wrong terminology and like abusing science to bend the narrative the way they like. It's like sensory memory of a knee in her back. That's not sensory memory. That's just a normal memory. And I just wanted to get it out there because I wanted to make a write-up about it, but it's been so annoying. I couldn't even get myself to sit down and write it. So just wanted to get it out quickly here now. So
And one thing real quick,
No,
I know
thank
I
you.
said about the friend, is think about Sandy. All she did was take a simple tactic that a lot of children use and just spun it a little bit further, which is, you know, when you growing up, you did something bad, or at least I know I did. I would blame the shit out of imaginary friends, and it was take one, project it onto someone else, and bam, we've got a stylish girl wearing a scarf in Texas, and come on, let's make it out like a memory. But that whole thing just, I don't know.
And okay, can I just say, for who brings friends to a family gathering anyway?
Exactly.
Like, why
barely see
would she have been there for an anniversary dinner?
not announcing it, not
Right, I could
asking.
see. Right, exactly. No asking, but I could see if, like, you know, you're 14, 15, and you're in that stage where you're bored with your family and it's not cool to hang out with them. Hey, Mom, is it okay if I bring Jessica with me, you know, so I have something to do? Sure, ask Aunt Sandy, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just didn't make sense to me that she would try and bring a friend into this. It didn't fit.
Yeah, it's like just play games on your burner phone. You're not bringing a damn friend.
How do you know it's a burner phone?
How do you know it's a burner phone, Tim? Damn it.
You can tell because it was on Craigslist. Come on.
And what was it once you
can
call
tell
it?
because
It
there
rings.
was no voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
once you
ring
call
box-
it rings. Burn, baby, burn.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You gotta know, and it's one of those that'll self-destruct after it's used up. So come on, we're never gonna find those tools.
And two common themes I see in this whole thing. One, since when is the argument it doesn't make sense a bad one? People are acting like things not making sense is not an argument. It is. It actually is. If you want to find something out what happened, does this make sense? No, it doesn't. Okay, let's move on to another thing. That's one thing. And another common theme for the innocence camp, this was for the guilters, so-called, and for the innocence folks. Do you see a common thread with like items like Costco shirt, Xbox, what was it again? What was the third thing? Every single time, yeah, the TV, every single time it was one piece of evidence that was gonna crack the case wide open. And now what happens is anybody talking about the Costco shirt?
It's absolutely.
Is there any mention? No, we just moved on. We made a huge fuss about the Costco shirt, about the Xbox, about the power tools or whatever, and just moving on. Nobody. Bob even said on 2020 he was like, "This shirt, it's like amazing," and the other presenter was also like amazed with the detective work on the shirt. Where's the shirt now? Who's talking about the shirt? Are we searching for the shirt?
Keep up. It's getting hard to keep up with all their bombshells, actually.
Well, you're talking about a
tiring.
guy running a podcast that will blindly accuse somebody of flat-out murder publicly, but doesn't know what circumstantial evidence is, or thinks that it can't be used. You know, you've got people following that, and so that right there should, and I'm not trying to be mean, but that right there should say a lot about the hive mind that these people have. And it's almost cult-like atmosphere, and it's really kind of, because like we can all talk, and all of us on here can talk and disagree and be okay with it. We don't have to like always take up and follow each other's
Try it.
and whatnot. But we're also not afraid that like if we go against one another that we're gonna get booted. And it's like, I don't even know where I was going with that. I just felt like saying it. But,
Thank you for saying it.
started getting off on a tangent here, but yeah, it's just kind of like I don't know. I'm done now with that rant, but
I think your point was that if this is an investigation and we're going to find out who murdered Jaime, then we need to be open to asking all the questions, not just who was the intruder, but why were there no stabs to his back when he was in the closet?
Yeah,
exactly. Why did he not turn around and try to get his gun?
Right.
And then even more than so, you're right that they haven't been asking particular questions. So we've seen with this stuff to do with Mr. Devlin and all the IT material, they're very happy to take 3 answers that Mr. Devlin gave during the trial as absolute words. So they say, "Yep, that he couldn't be wrong. That's that's solid testimony." Yet someone like Ms. Rossi, who has an extraordinary amount of experience, is very highly respected in her field. They pull apart her testimony when it's not contradicted. It's not contradicted by a report. It's not contradicted by her. It's just odd that they can see one approach as being right and then the other as not. It's weird.
It drives me insane that they will disparage these people and they will publicly try to discredit them based on their feelings.
Oh, yeah.
That drives me crazy. Unless you have the same credentials, you can't challenge their testimony. You're not qualified.
If it's good for Sandy, it's good for them. That's the way it works.
That's right.
And that's why
they
experiment with the Cool Whip is I really want to put it up there and just see how many of the supporters are like, "Oh, great, see, we told you," or "Hey, because they're gonna blindly believe me," but yet when like Sam has hardcore proof, they're gonna go against it just because it's not in Sandy's favor. And I mean, I don't get it.
Well, you just put it with us. Why are we all here? because we didn't follow the narrative. We were asking questions. We all got booted out. That's the truth. If you don't follow their narrative, and if you don't agree with them, or if you just ask questions, that's why it doesn't fly.
And now the fan page is basically completely dead, and there's no discussion other than people crying when they get booted from our group. Hi, Gerald. But it's like, I mean, it's completely dead. The only thing they talk about is, oh, the meanies at the Truth is Justice group, and then they come, and when you want to have a discussion, you come to our group and you have a discussion. But don't
just
come.
For the record, we don't boot people for not agreeing with us. We boot people when they're being disrespectful to others. That is like #1 rule, because everybody was disrespectful to us for some time, and you cannot have a healthy debate if you're insulting everybody. I mean, it deranged from the topic. It deranged from you know.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want people to ask questions, and we want to find some answers. And if you're fighting everybody, it's just not going to happen.
And let's just clarify.
Oh, sorry, Gerald.
Let's just clarify. If you make a post and you state your opinion, and people respond questioning your opinion and giving their own opinion, that is not being attacked.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course not.
Thank you.
Of course not.
I mean, if you've got 25,000 people who are scared of a group with 600 people, that even out of the 600, there's probably like, I don't know, 30 of us that aren't spying on each other. I mean, come on. You're worried about something. There's something wrong there. What is it? Are we giving good information? Because, I mean, they spend an awful lot of time with the Army trying to, and they don't even do it.
And spying.
Yeah. And they don't even do it smart. You're going to use Bob's favorite term, shit show, over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, well, we know right there that, you were put up to doing it. So, come on, at least if you're going to do it, be smart about it. We're obviously a lot smarter and able to think more clearly than some of them, so come on.
And we do have some members of fans that have been engaging really respectfully and have given their opinion, and it's great. It's actually great. But when you come like yesterday night, when you come just saying and insulting, it's just that it doesn't work that way. It's not supposed to work that way.
And we need people who disagree, because why would we have a discussion group? I mean, I can discuss whatever with you, Atty, or with Sam, or whoever here, Tim, Nicole. We can discuss things, but at a certain point, we're just going to agree on things, and just like, what are we going to talk about then? We're just going to change topics.
It's just going to be in a circle, yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to talk in circles. Yeah, she's guilty. Yeah, she's guilty. I think she's guilty. Yeah, she's really guilty. I mean, it's just going to be
how's
boring.
the weather?
Yeah,
Gerald is the worst spy ever.
Yeah, I don't mind engaging in discussion. Like I don't mind having my opinions challenged, and people generally don't like my response.
I love it
which
too.
is fine. But like, I do mind when they tell me my opinion is not as valid as their opinion just because they said so.
Yeah.
No. Every opinion is valuable.
And not even trying to argue your opinion, but just to get back at the quote-unquote topic at hand, I wanted to go back to something Tim said about circumstantial evidence. What's this whole shtick about she was convicted on circumstantial evidence? It's literally evidence. It says there's circumstantial evidence. If it wasn't evidence, it wouldn't be called evidence. What's with that? What's up with that?
No, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Circumstantial evidence cannot convict somebody in the court of law. Remember that.
Damn it.
Yeah.
It's been driving me nuts for the last 5 months now. Circumstantial evidence. Yes, it's the only thing we have. It's the only.
How many cases have the person has been convicted on circumstantial evidence?
Like 90%.
How many? Exactly. I mean, if that's the case, everybody would be walking free then.
Oh,
This is
absolutely.
what these people want.
And that's exactly why DNA and fingerprints are circumstantial evidence. Because you don't know how they got there. You have no clue. Was it 5 days ago? Was it that night? If it was under Jim's fingernails, that's a whole nother story. But if it's on a freaking doorknob or on the ceiling or whatever, I mean, it's circumstantial. It could have gotten there anyway. The maid, Liz and her husband, tens, dozens of ways. You know,
And I don't want to be mean, but that house doesn't look like it gets cleaned a lot. So you
Yeah,
can
what did the
imagine-
cleaning lady do?
I don't know. Nothing.
she left DNA and fingerprints. That's what she does for a living.
Yeah.
She contaminated the crime scene. That's all she was good for.
Yeah, she does. But
She's like-
that's what bothered me. There was dust everywhere. So of course you were going to find a lot of fingerprints everywhere on over the tables and still there was no DNA on Jim, no DNA on Sandra. So it's weird.
Yeah,
I
that
can't
seems
reconcile
weird.
the fact that the Sandy is innocent camp thinks that Jim was fighting his assailant.
Oh man.
A huge fight, battle to the death, and yet there is nothing under his fingernails. There is no DNA on his body that doesn't belong to him or Sandra. Or I think hers wasn't even on him either.
No.
No, and they
How can you
allegedly
find-
had sex. They had sex
For
and no
2 hours.
DNA.
For
And no
2
DNA
hours.
anywhere.
So it's the lack of anyone else's DNA on him that is a huge red flag to me. If he was really fighting to the death.
And he wasn't.
They were in a
People-
big latex suit. That's why, Danielle.
That would explain it.
I know I would need to be to get
Boom. Case solved.
Yeah. And the thing is, people really do not understand a stabbing sequence. I don't wish for anyone to witness a stabbing or to be a victim of stabbing, but once a knife is coming at you, you're not going to be fighting against it. You're going to be putting your hands up and praying to God that it stops. You're going to be going backwards, trying to dodge the attacks, trying to recoil back. Once the knife penetrates you once or twice, it hurts like all hell. No matter the amount of adrenaline at that moment, it hurts. You can see professional, like police officers, getting attacked by knives, and they start backing up and they get stabbed and they can't even think about using their baton or pistol. It just people really do not understand stabbing. A knife is a seriously deadly weapon, seriously deadly. And what we were talking about that on the page, what Jim Clemente said, not a lot of people know how much a gunshot wound hurts. Everybody knows how much a cut hurts, you know. And once you see a knife, you're expecting the pain. You know the pain which is coming, and you're not gonna try to jump on the knife, you know. So there was no fight to the death. There was no fight to the death.
Well,
That's
people
why
like to
the-
pretend. People like to pretend Sandra couldn't have done this to him because she was so quote weak and frail. But all you have to do is like look at like the Jodi Arias case.
Yes.
He was a big dude and he seemed fit, and she stabbed him to death.
She stabbed the shit out of
He
him.
had a massive amount of weight over Jodi Arias.
And
He
for
was
the
a
record,
small and girl.
Thin and petite,
she had a
yes.
gun that she didn't use.
No.
They
You
keep
noticed that
saying-
she got him in the shower when he was naked.
Naked.
When
Yes,
he was
because-
vulnerable.
It's
And
the whole
burnable.
it's the whole WTF moment. If my spouse after 32 years was coming at me, I'm gonna be in more shock that like what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be thinking to fight. So
Right.
And-
he was naked. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't care. Like that's a vulnerable point, even if
What
you
are you
are
supposed
around
to
your
do?
wife. Yeah, like your wife. I mean,
And-
not.
One of our dear friends brought up the point on the page that being naked is an extra layer of weakness on top of facing a knife. Being naked, I don't know if people know the feeling when you're naked. You feel vulnerable, you know. You're
Yes.
vulnerable. And somebody's coming at you with a knife. You don't have anything between you and the knife. You're gonna feel double, triple as vulnerable as you normally would.